Speaker, before you, ladies and gentlemen, is the fiscal year 2024 budget for the Office of the Attorney General. It appropriates $34,363,600 and caps the authorized number of full-time equivalent positions at 231. This bill funds 5 line items and provides for a legal internship program, a victim witness coordinator, a national child ID program enrollment, ICAC investigators, analysts, and vehicles, and an 11% salary and benefits increase for staff and attorneys. There is a supplemental good Speaker, could I ask unanimous consent to refer to pending legislation?
Unanimous consent has been requested to refer to pending legislation. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman will refer to pending legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On your third reading calendar is Senate Bill 1131, which is a supplemental for transition for tobacco arbitration personnel costs that was approved earlier this session, sent out as a separate bill, but we have not gotten to it on a third reading calendar yet. Happy to stand for any questions on the fiscal year 2024 appropriation for the Office of the Attorney General.
Thank you, good gentlemen. It's further debate on the motion. Good lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good gentleman from 16 yield to a question?
Would the good lady yield to a question from the good lady from 18, and it's a question she doesn't know the answer to?
The good gentleman from District 16 will yield to the good lady.
Thank you, good gentleman. Good lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman. I certainly don't know the answer to this. You may or may not, but I'll try. I was wondering if you have any information on the number of written Attorney General opinions that have been issued this session, and if so, and how that might compare with previous sessions.
Good gentleman from 16.
Good, Mr. Speaker, good lady. I am not aware. I was told by another good representative just yesterday that the Office of the Attorney General has been offering more oral opinions, similar to what was done in the past with Attorney General David Leroy. But I have not, and that did not come up during the budget setting process.
Good lady from 18. Good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to express concern that we are looking at a large increase. This over the past 2 years, this would have been a 22% increase. And just as a legislator, I'm just somewhat concerned because I depend very heavily on getting timely and thorough advice from the Attorney General. It helps inform my decisions on legislation. And this session, I have yet to receive an opinion in time to utilize it on the floor. So just a concern.
Thank you, good lady. You've heard the motion. Is there further debate on the motion? Good gentleman, 25.
Would the good gentleman from 16 yield to a question?
Gentleman yield.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yield.
Good gentleman, what is the comparison? What were the raises awarded last year to the Attorney General's office and as well as this year? If you would restate those so I had a thought of what they were.
Gentleman 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. Last year, if my memory serves me correctly, the Office of the Attorney General requested a 17% CEC increase and was granted 11%. This year, the Office of the Attorney General requested a 15% CEC increase and was granted, once again, 11%. This was addressed in both years over concerns about their ability to hire competitively with other public service sector attorneys based on the Office of the Attorney General's own internal comparisons on whether or not they could be competitive with places like City of Boise, Ada County, so forth.
Thank you, gentleman 16. Good gentleman 25.
Would the good gentleman yield to a follow-up?
Gentleman 16 yield to follow-up.
Yes.
Good gentleman yields.
I'm not certain of the numbers, and I hope you can give me the numbers. What was suggested, the comparison on a recent study to what that study said to what the Attorney General's, what was granted?
Gentleman 16.
It's my understanding, good gentlemen, that LSO did run numbers on comparisons, though, and I would be happy to provide that to the body. I will say there is, I would be happy to provide that to the body. There may be dispute between agencies as to the actual difference between the positions, both internally and provided by other agencies.
Gentleman 25.
Thank you, good speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. The gentleman from 10.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate in favor of the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
There were some questions about opinions. I want to state to the body that I've received multiple opinions from our current Attorney General. He is changing the style in which he gives out legal opinions. When you ask for them, they will be oral many times. And there's good reason for that. If you want a formal opinion, it will take time. In the past, we've received from past Attorney General, you get a letter. And it's not really a formal opinion with all the case citations. If you're going to get an opinion from him, he'll give it to you, but you're going to need a couple weeks, and he'll give you a formal opinion, much in the style of former Attorney General David Leroy. That's how it used to be done in the old days. We had the same Attorney General for the past 20 years, and they were done differently. Now we're going back to some of the old practices, and that's the reason on the opinions. As to the attorneys, what their pay is, it's much less for a 10-year experienced attorney. We have some good attorneys in the AG's office we want to keep. They're getting paid much less than their counterparts in the private sector. I'm okay with some less, but I want to keep these good men and women attorneys, and also the staff needs an increase like everyone else. They're trying to keep good staff. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd urge a green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. For the debate on the motion. Good lady from 32.
I was wondering if the good gentleman would yield to a question.
Gentleman from 16 yield.
Gentlemen, yields.
Yield.
Just in all fairness to all departments, I wondered if you could tell us what dues, subscriptions, and travel costs are in this budget, because I do not see a line item for this, and if we're going to be fair to all departments, I think that that should be disclosed equally.
Thank you, good lady. Good gentleman 16.
Good lady, at the time I received this, that was not something that was prepared by Legislative Services. I'd be happy to get that and provide that, although I do know that bar dues are paid out of this budget for, if not the largest, one of the largest law firms in the state.
Good lady 32.
So as a follow-up question for those of us who don't know what bar questions are, with the
But the good gentleman 16
Would
yield to
a
another question.
Good lady, I would like to answer your previous question. I just got an email from LSO telling me what those amounts are, if I could read from that. $54,000 on individual bar dues, the State Bar Association, $52,000 on organization dues, $21,000 on general subscriptions and publications, and $169,000 on Westlaw. It's an online legal research tool available to our DAGs.
And good gentleman 16. Good lady 32.
Mr. Speaker, just a follow-up question. So did I hear you right
Good,
when you
the
said?
good gentleman from
Yeah,
16
would the
yield to a further
good
question.
gentleman yield to a further question?
Gentlemen, yields.
Gentleman yields. Good lady can ask her question now.
So did I hear that right when they said it was something like $50,000 for bar dues? 54,000?
Gentleman 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. I'll read it again. $54,000 on individual bar dues through the State Bar Association, $52,000 on organization dues, $21,000 on general subscriptions and publications, and $169,000 on Westlaw.
Thank you, good gentleman 16. Good lady 32. You're good. Thank you, good lady. Good lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask unanimous consent to refer to another piece of legislation.
Unanimous consent has been requested to refer to another piece of legislation. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady may refer to the other piece of legislation.
Okay,
as
thank
it
you,
pertains
Mr.
to this
Speaker.
budget.
Thank you. So I rise to debate the bill, not really against, but to just make a clarification that I understand the challenges to retain attorneys and the 11%. I don't have a dispute about that, but my dispute comes when we are giving $1.20 to our state employees, which is not even close to 11%, and I know it varies. So that's the piece of legislation. I think we need to keep that in perspective. 11% for one, and $1.20 an hour for others. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, good lady from 6. Good gentleman from 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman from 16 yield to a question.
Good gentleman, you're popular today. With the good gentleman from 16, yield to a question.
You will.
Gentleman yields.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman. Line 4 says ICAC, and I didn't hear what you described what that is. That's the largest part of this increase, the 642,000. Could you tell me what the ICAC investigators, et cetera, stands for?
Gentleman from 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just going through my notes here. Mr. Speaker, good gentlemen, I would like to phone a friend on this, and I'm happy to cover this in my closing. But in my notes, I only have acronyms, so I'm going to phone a friend and cover that in my closing.
Thank you, good gentleman 16. Good gentleman 25. Does that address your concerns?
It does. I just want to make a comment. It's not
Good
really a
gentleman
debate.
would like to debate the bill. Good gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker,
Would you like to ask another question?
Apparently he has.
Yeah, good gentleman 16, yield.
Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. So.
Okay, all right, thank you.
There you go.
So
Thank you.
I was just going to add on to the good gentleman from 22's request that when we see bar bills this large, we want to find out all the bar bills in all the other departments too.
A lot of drinking going on. Good gentleman 29.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
Good gentleman has the floor.
I wanted to support the good lady from 6 in her comments about how this seems to be a bit too much in some cases. As we heard the good gentleman from 16 mention that the previous raise for the Attorney General's change in employee compensation last year was 11%. And if this bill passes, it would be another 11% this year. So an overall change of 22% for 2 years. While our good Idaho State police troopers here in the building, if everything goes well for them, we'll see just at a COLA raise, 8.9%. And that's if they receive the full $1.20 merit-based. That's a merit-based raise, along with a 6% increase. I think that this Attorney General's raise of 11% sends the wrong message to the rest of our state employees. I think that we should be doing better for those other state employees. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Good gentleman 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you. I echo a lot of sentiments that some of the other folks who have asked questions and debated have, but I do think that it's important to note that currently the Attorney General's office pays 12% more than Ada County attorneys, 17% more than City of Boise attorneys, 4% more than Canyon County attorneys. Now, we have our good Attorney General on the second floor, when he was in Congress, stated that he was, if being fiscally responsible is extreme and crazy, then he is.
Speaker.
Good gentlemen, I think you need to be careful where you're going with the good congressman. I think that's out of bounds.
Oh, okay. I was just going to state that, seeing the 12% increase in the budget seems to be a bit not extreme or crazy. But I also don't think it's appropriate that we are paying our we are giving higher raises to our attorney generals more than we are giving our Idaho State Police, who work hard to keep us all safe all across the state every day. And I will, I think one more point of concern, I have heard from several folks that our Solicitor General, who is receiving pay of $160,000 a year, is not even licensed member of the Idaho Bar, and I think that is a particular concern. So I will close with that. I will be a no on this budget.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Good gentleman 13.
The gentleman from 16 yield to a question.
Gentleman 16 yield another question. Gentleman yields. Good gentleman 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman from 16. I too share some concerns that have been raised today with regards to not issuing written legal opinions. I noticed that in this budget there are 5 new additional FTEs. Does the current Attorney General plan to issue written Attorney General's opinions now that we're giving him more staff?
Gentleman 16.
Mr. Speaker, good gentleman, I could not speak to the Attorney General's intentions on that matter.
Thank you, good gentleman. Seeing that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Jump
Speaker.
13. Thank
I
you,
wish
good
we could-
gentleman. Good gentleman, 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
And I'd actually like to appreciate the comments from good representative from 13, because I think that's a critical point here. Verbal opinions are hearsay, and they have absolutely no value for the purposes of debate in this body, whether it's in the chamber and committee. And in the 5 years that I've been in this body, I had absolutely no problem receiving written opinions in a timely manner. And so for me, what I would consider to be a bad practice from the past is no reason to somehow resurrect it in the present. So I'm a no on this. I'm a no on this bill until it at least gets some confirmation and that in fact written opinions in a timely manner will in fact be coming from the Attorney General's office. It's part of the job, and I don't see where we should be giving any kind of a raise until that job is prepared to be done and executed properly. Thank you.
Thank you, gentleman, 15. Is further debate on the motion? Gentleman, good gentlelady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate against the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want us all to sit with this one question. Would we hire an attorney ourselves for our private businesses or for our personal use if they're not willing to give us a written interpretation of what we're asking them to evaluate? Let that sit on your shoulders for a moment, because that is essentially what we just heard, is that there is no intention that they're going to provide us a written interpretation of our asks of them. And I certainly would not hire an attorney who's not willing to do that.
Hey, good lady from 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I just wanted the body to be
The good
aware.
lady like to debate
May
the
I
bill?
debate in favor of
Good
the
lady
bill?
has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted the body to be aware that I've used our new Attorney General's office 5 or maybe 6 times actually on different issues this session. And while I haven't requested a written opinion to be broadly disseminated, what I have done is taken legislative ideas to them and gotten their feedback on how those ideas can be written in such a way that they are defensible and constitutional. And I have received excellent legal support. I've also taken to them questions from constituents dealing with issues, and they have been prompt, they've been professional, and I've sincerely appreciated that. What I have not seen is legal opinions given out that can be weaponized against a legislator in the legislative process, or that would make it more difficult for the Attorney General to do their job and defend the legislation that we pass here in the future. And I appreciate that. So I just wanted you to know that I'm very pleased with the legal support that I have received in my responsibilities.
Thank you, good ladies. Is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none. Good lady, 33.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate in favor of the bill.
Good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Friends, I know a couple things have been brought up, and I'd like to just point a couple other things out. Much like the good lady from District 28 or 27 or wherever she is now, I too have been able to go to our AG and the AG staff and receive great direction so as to help make sure that the legislation which we're trying to bring will be constitutional and defensible. So that's the first point. Next point, we got a brand new AG with a brand new office and office staff, and this is important that we give them and give him that opportunity to be successful. We've hired him. He's our AG, and I want our AG to be able to be successful and to represent Idaho as Idaho should be represented. A couple years ago, the good lady from 30 and I believe a couple others, had an opportunity to visit at least with our local government. And we particularly were able to deal with what some of you have heard lately, which is ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children. We were fighting at that point to get another, I believe it was half officer positioned so that we could continue to fight the internet crimes in our area against children. Part of this increase in the budget is because that particular crime for us here in Idaho and in our area, for my colleagues, has skyrocketed. The internet crimes against our children and what's happening right here in Idaho, right under our noses, where you don't even see it, is terrible. Now, if the good gentleman were to come back, our AG, and request this same kind of increase next year, I might have some consternation. But for this year, I believe this is needed, and we particularly need to defend our children and bring that caseload down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the bill. Good lady from 6.
For a question, if the good gentleman would yield.
Gentleman 16 yield to a question.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. So there was some debate that talked about one of the attorney generals in the office not being licensed by the Idaho Bar. Can you answer that if that is correct?
Good lady, good gentleman 16.
Mr. Speaker, good lady, on January 3rd, the Office of the Attorney General hired a new Solicitor General position at $160,000, and I can confirm as of today, he is not licensed with the State Bar.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, lady from 6. Good lady from 9. Well, good lady from 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to debate for the bill and
Lady
to
has the
answer
floor.
the question about the new Solicitor General. As you know, he just moved here, and it is required in Idaho when an attorney moves here and he does not have an Idaho license, he must take the Idaho Bar, and that takes a while to do. So that is what has happened. He has finally finished that and awaiting his license. He is a fantastic attorney, and I have all the faith in the world in him.
Thank you for the clarification, good lady from 9. Good lady 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to address something and then make a request. Regarding the CEC percent increase, the gentleman on the second floor commissioned a study that made a recommendation, which we considered in all of the budgets that we did. In addition to that study, there were exceptions proposed across multiple state agencies in government, from Percy to public schools, which I talked about yesterday, a 50% increase. So the gentleman on the second floor proposed many of those exceptions. To my knowledge, we have agreed with all of those exceptions. And through the budget process, we weigh each budget as it comes in. We hear the testimony. Perhaps I should have asked for permission to refer to pending legislation, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, good
Unanimous consent,
lady.
please.
Probably should. Unanimous consent has been requested to refer to pending legislation. Is there objection? Hearing none, good lady can refer to pending legislation.
Thank you. I mentioned an exception of 50% for classified staff. Now, they're not state employees, but they're paid with state dollars. And so that's about $246 million, $48 million of exceptions to the $1.20 4% general recommendation. In this case, the committee was persuaded and voted unanimously, House and Senate, to make this exception for the purposes that were outlined, the pay being lower than other public sector. But as well as the internet crimes against children thing. With that said, Mr. Speaker, I request to bring this budget back to committee. We've heard the concerns. We'll bring it back, we'll redo it, and be back here with something that looks a little bit different.
This is a good lady asking unanimous consent to return the bill to the JFAC committee, I guess is where it came from.
That is exactly what I'm asking, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, good lady. You've heard the request to return the bill to the JFAC committee. Good gentleman 25.
Who do I give the chicken to?
Before we get there, let's see if it passes. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the good gentleman from 16 anxiously awaits the chicken. Thank you. Good lady from 8. All right.